everybody. Thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Tonight, we're so excited to be joined by, you know him, country music star, the man himself, John Rich. John, welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you. I feel like I've known you for so long. I think we first met back when you were on Celebrity Apprentice in 2011. It feels like 100 years ago. And by the way, this is back when it was still okay to be a celebrity and like Donald Trump, don't forget. And you actually won that season. I remember so vividly sitting there. You were raising money for St. Jude Children's Hospital, which, as you know, is near and dear to my heart, to my husband's heart. Do you have any fun memories from Celebrity Apprentice? I feel like, you know, people knew you before from the country scene, but that really kind of brought you, you know, bigger picture, and so many people got to know you from Celebrity Apprentice.
Yeah, well, you're right. That was back when rappers would call out Donald Trump's name every other song because they all wanted to be like him, you know, until he becomes the president. So, no, it does seem like a long time ago, but it was, you know, that show was something that they had asked me to be on it a couple of times, and I said no because I was a fan of the show, and I had seen people appear to absolutely lose their minds on this show, like people that I knew that were on the show. I'm like, what are they doing to people on the show to drive them so crazy? And so I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. But then I thought the third time they came around, I said, you know, I'd watched Piers Morgan. I think he raised $500,000 or something like that. And he was the champion as far as fundraising at that point. I said, "No, we can't let Piers be number one. We've got to show that we can raise more money than him. And I'm going to play for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, which I've always supported since early in my career, even before Big and Rich. And I thought, you know what? I'll just remember that the people I'm representing are these kids at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and that should be enough to keep me from saying or doing something that wouldn't show very well. So in effect, you know, I looked at it as playing for something bigger than myself. And I think anybody that takes on that attitude in a serious way, a lot of the things about yourself that aren't the best parts of yourself, you kind of push those to the back because you're focused on something much larger. And so that was my attitude for that show. And you're right, it was a massive audience that whole season. I think they were pulling down 15, 16 million viewers a week or something like that. So it was really big, and it did put me in front of a lot of people that were not necessarily country music fans.
Yeah. Well, by the way, just so people have a little bit of insight. So I actually remember how Celebrity Apprentice worked. I remember kind of seeing you guys. You basically would work from like 5 o'clock in the morning until like midnight sometimes on that show. You would sometimes like tape 2 episodes. So if you ever wonder why people got a little bit crazy, I think it's just people were totally exhausted. They were at like their wits' end. And then to realize, like you're saying, that all of this is being recorded on camera for, you know, the country and really the world ultimately to see probably adds a layer of stress. But I just want to take a second to talk about St. Jude. I know you still do a lot for St. Jude. This is a hospital that is the leading hospital in the world for pediatric cancer. They take the cases, for people that don't know out there, they take the kids' cancer cases that no one else wants to take. They're a research hospital. They don't ever ask for a single penny from any person that is treated at the hospital. They take care of the entire family, not just the patient. They have the target house where the family can stay. They allow, you know, other siblings of the child that's being treated to stay there. Why is it that you wanted to raise money for them? Or what was it that ultimately got you interested in that? Because I'll tell you, Eric and I still do so much for them. It is such a great place. God forbid you ever, you know anybody that has to get treated there. They tell you that it's not even like a hospital. It's like a second home. They get to know so well the doctors that take care of them and the nurses, and it doesn't feel sterile like a hospital. It's, you know, there's murals on the walls and all this. What made you want to play for them, and what got you interested in raising money for them?
So the big factor to me with St. Jude is all the things you just said, but the word research. So St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So they've got this whole panel of scientists, doctors, the most brilliant medical minds really in the world. And what they're doing is they are coming with new treatments and new ways to fight cancer, because cancer is a continually morphing situation. it's constantly turning into other things that they haven't seen before. And so when St. Jude finds a new way to treat a certain cancer, they don't keep it to themselves or sell that technology or whatever. They upload it to the internet. So every children's hospital, every doctor in the world has access to the information that they've learned. So there was this one kid, one of my very first visits to St. Jude back in the 90s, and I was going room to room. I had a guitar around my neck, and I'm singing, and I'm hanging out with people. And this one kid, he's probably 9 or 10, and I asked him, I said, "What are they treating you for?" And he says, "They don't have a name for my cancer." And he goes, "It's called this." And he reaches over to the nightstand, and he picks up this piece of paper, and it looked like a VIN number to a car. It was just letters and numbers. He goes, that's the name of my cancer."
Wow.
Wow. And that's when it blew my mind what they're doing there. Well, guess what? They found a way to treat his cancer, and he's still alive. He's a grown man, got his own family now, survived it. I've kept up with these people over the years. So what you said earlier about God forbid someone in your family ever comes down with cancer like that, thank goodness you got a place like St. Jude who's out there on the cutting edge of learning ways to fight it and to push it back.
Yeah, I always encourage people, look, if you want to, if you have someone in your family that says, make a donation to charity instead of buying me a birthday gift or whatever it is, St. Jude is such a great place. And John, we didn't even start this interview. I didn't even think we were going to talk about St. Jude, but it was so on my mind and on my heart for whatever reason. It's such an incredible place. So thanks for all that you do for them. I want to go back for a moment to talking about my father-in-law, because what we kind of alluded to a few minutes ago is so accurate. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that you could not only like Donald Trump, but be friends with him. And people were trying to be like him, emulate him, because he was the epitome of success. Did you know him? I don't even know the answer to this. Did you know him before the show, or did you meet him on the show?
I met him on the show. So I didn't know him at all. I didn't know any of you guys before that. I came in, and I don't think he knew who I was at all. He's like the guy in the I guess we need a guy in a cowboy hat. Okay, we got the token country guy in here now.
Oh my God.
But what I saw from him, there was one instance that I've shared this with lots of people that don't know him personally. Is he and Melania were on an elevator with me, and there was only one other guy. It was the elevator attendant there at Trump Tower in New York. And you're going down all these floors. So you're on there for, a minute and a half. And the elevator attendant has got his back to us, and he's just facing the door. And President Trump puts his hand on the guy's shoulder, and he goes, "Is everybody treating you well here?" And the guy said, "Yes, sir, Mr. Trump." And he goes, "Well, you're doing a great job. Thank you for working here. And you're doing a great job," and patted the guy on the shoulder. And you saw this guy just kind of swell up with pride, like, wow, it was great to be acknowledged by the big boss man. And then he walked off the elevator, and I've seen those kind of gestures from him just to regular everyday people all the time. And I think when you saw him out on the campaign trail, or you saw him take on these issues where politicians hated what he was doing, and tech hated what he was doing, and corporations hated what he was doing, who didn't hate what he was doing? The regular everyday man and woman out there battling it out. And so I saw that attitude from him way back in the day on that elevator. And when I saw him as the president doing that, I went, yeah, that's exactly what I saw.
Yeah.
He's just doing it on a bigger level.
Yeah. And that's truly the real Donald Trump. I wish that more people got to hear stories like that about him. Obviously, I know him now as part of his family, but when I first was getting to know him, I had so many similar experiences to that with him. I would go with my husband, to these job sites, these construction sites. And it wasn't just that he would stay at 10,000 feet. He would get down and he would talk to the electricians. He would talk to the guys pouring the concrete. He wanted to know exactly what was happening. And then in places where everything was already built, in the hotels and, the golf courses, he would always seek out the people that I don't think most people would talk to. He would seek out the janitorial staff and say, how is everything going here for you? Anything we could be doing better? Because those are the people that know and see everything. And I think you're right, to have the acknowledgement from, somebody who's your boss, but technically your boss from so far away and on such a different level, I think always meant the world to those people. And he always made sure that he sought them out and said thank you and treated them with such respect. And I wish more people knew that side of him. But I think you're right. I think real America knows that. I think they know that what's been done to him by the mainstream media and sadly by the Democrats is not the truth. You see the way he fought for this country and continues to fight for this country, and it means a lot to the the real Americans out there, everyday people. Yeah. So. Thank you for sharing that story. I want to ask you quickly, though, because obviously we know you from country music. We know all of your great songs, but how did you start? Did you always know ultimately that you wanted to be a musician? I have a hunch that one of my kids is going to be a musician, but maybe you can clear it up for me.
So I grew up in Amarillo, Texas, which is up in the panhandle of Texas. It's flat as a board. On a calm day, the wind's blowing about 35 to 40 miles an hour. Wow. It's what they call Tornado Alley. Okay. And we lived in a double wide trailer in Tornado Alley. So I'm the ultimate cliche, trailers and tornadoes. So I grew up there and in Amarillo, if it's not in the cattle industry or the agricultural industry, that's pretty much the end of it. There's not a lot of other things going on. So for me, I never knew people made money playing music. My dad's a preacher, non-denominational preacher, preaches a lot of prisons and street ministry and stuff like that. And he sings and plays guitar. So I learned how to play guitar by watching him. And one of his extra jobs, one of many extra jobs that he took on, was to give guitar lessons at the local music store in Amarillo. So I would tag along. That's where I learned it because I wanted to be like Dad. That's really what that was. But I was pretty good at it, but never thought I would make money doing something like that. So my goal was, the coolest thing you could be out there was to be a team roper in a rodeo. So a team roper, when they'll send that steer out there and one's grabbing the horns and one's grabbing the heels, called heading and heeling. And so I would stand out waiting on the school bus every day with a big bale of hay and these plastic steer horns sticking out the front. Go 1, 2, 3, wham, and throw the rope and pull it back. And I'd try to do that 50 times before the bus would come pick me up.
Oh, wow.
That was my ultimate goal because that's the coolest, most rock star thing you could do. And then my mother being a Tennessean, we moved back when I was in high school, or moved to Tennessee in high school. That's when I realized, holy cow, there's people that make money playing guitars. Well, maybe I'll try that. And kind of stepped into it at that point in my life.
Wow. So if music doesn't ultimately work out, which, sorry to tell you, John, I think it's going to work out. I think you've made it and you're going to continue to do great. Everything you've done has been incredible. So we could look at possibly a roper in the rodeo if it doesn't pan out with the music. That's amazing.
Yeah. For me, it was all about, I've always been into challenges, taking things on that seem like impossibilities. And a lot of times they are impossible, but that's the point of America, is that we don't have the right to be happy. We have the right to pursue happiness.
Amen. Yeah.
To me, those are the two, if you want to boil down the two counter narratives in this country right now, it's the group that says we have the right to pursue happiness and the group that says we have the right to be happy. That's where all this comes together in a very simple, boiled down, distilled sentence. That's where it's at. I was not raised to think that anybody owed me anything, that, I have a high school diploma and the American dream. That's what I've got. And I've gone at big things and will continue to in my life. And if I don't understand something, then I'm going to go try to learn about it, fail a few times, and stick with it until I hopefully succeed at some point. You think about the billions of people that woke up on Earth this very morning who have just as much talent and drive and passion and intellect and soul as any American ever had. But because of where they live, because of what government that might be over there, they don't have the right to exhaust their potential. They're going to die, wind up doing the exact same thing they were born doing most of the time. And that's why there's lines coming into America and no lines leaving America. And so I remember that every single day when I wake up, that, this country, it offers us everything and it owes us nothing. It's up to us to go out there and take advantage of the rights that we have, thanks to our military for protecting those rights all these years.
That's right. Well, thank you to all of our military. Thank you to all of our men and women in blue. It's because of those people, you're right, that we're here today. And I think your point is so profound and it is so spot on for right now. What we see happening, and sadly, what I'm afraid will continue to happen in America, is that people will assume that they are supposed to always be happy, that they don't have to figure it out. They don't have to earn it. You have a right to pursue happiness. But what we see happening right now with really people incredibly dependent on government, I think it's a really scary and a slippery slope, quite frankly. We could be headed in the wrong direction very quickly. People get reliant on government. They no longer rely on themselves for anything. I, like you, grew up with the idea that, look, if you want something, you got to work for it. I remember my parents telling me, well, that's great. You want a car, you better get a job, and you better earn some money to get it. And I think that look, I know that that's how I'm teaching my kids as they're growing up. They're only 1 and 3, but it's something that I'm afraid we could lose in America, and lose quickly if people do get too used to the government taking care of them and not having to take care of themselves and figure things out.
The people, especially right now, who are in charge of not only in government but in all the major sectors, they've started out many decades ago indoctrinating our kids to the fact that they should have whatever they want. They should be successful, popular, happy, whatever you want, comfortable. And
participation trophies, John. Participation trophies for everybody.
They've been programming American youth for many decades to think that way. And you ask yourself, well, why wouldn't you want to unleash the free spirit of Americans to go out and be entrepreneurs and develop new situations that the world follows? I mean, America invented rock and roll. We invented country music. We invented all these great things in the arts and science and every other way, agriculture, all these massive things that have impacted the world. So why would people in charge want people to be dependent on the government and try to program them to think that's the way it's supposed to be? Well, we know the answer, because they're the government and they want to control everybody and everything. And so it's up to parents like yourself, like me, and all the others out there to show your kids, hey, that's not how you want to live your life. Do you want to only have what they're going to let you have, or do you want to go out and build something bigger than they could ever give you? Well, if you ask the question that way, every single American is going to go, I want to have the most I can possibly have. Well, you're never going to have the most you can possibly have if only the government can give it to you. That's not going to ever happen for you. You're never going to have what you could ultimately have and succeed if it's only going to come from the government. And so we have to push back against this narrative that they're pushing with examples. People like me, people like you, other people across this country that go, no, hang on a minute. That's not how it works. And it starts with our kids. We have to let them see by example what it means to go after something, what it means to fail at something, and then put them back up again and let's go again and build something bigger than what you had when you started.
Yeah, not to get sidetracked, but I keep thinking back to this meme that somebody sent me. This is a couple of years ago, but it spoke to me so strongly because it said, 18 to 20-year-olds in 1943 or whenever, in World War II, they're literally storming the beaches of Normandy, and 18 to 20-year-olds today are like in a safe space with a puppy, offended by the world. The reality is this country doesn't owe anyone anything, but it allows us the opportunity to do whatever we want, to think however we want, to speak and say whatever we want. And those 18 and 20-year-olds that fought and died for our right to do that, we can never forget. And it actually is a little frightening to me, John, how quickly, things have changed in America. And I mean, maybe it speaks to, that we have come so far and we are so lucky to live in this country. But we can never forget, it wasn't too long ago that instead of hiding in a safe space with a puppy and being worried about the world offending them, our youth in America were overseas fighting in a really awful war and protecting the future of the world. So anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but.
Well, that generation, the greatest generation, they grew up lean. They had gone through the Great Depression, and I mean, lean as an American ever lived. And so they knew that there were better days to come, but they had to go earn it. And for them, earning it meant we had to beat Hitler and we had to beat Imperial Japan. I mean, we had to do it, or they were gonna stop America in its tracks, and they would, those future generations wouldn't have it. Laura, we are the future generations that they were fighting for. That's us right here today. And our current generations have grown up with what? Excess, more than you could ever eat, more than you could ever do, more than you could ever play with. that's just out of control excess, and they don't have any reference point back to not having it.
That's
and so
right.
that creates a dangerous situation, I believe, in this country. I hope we don't have to get to a point where they lose it before they're willing to fight for it.
Oh, amen to that. All right. I want to get back for a moment to the music, because obviously people know that you perform and you sing music, but you are also a writer. And I found out, John, that you have written some of my favorite songs: Redneck Woman, Mississippi Girl. I didn't know that you're writing all of these incredible songs, but gosh, what a talent you are. I want to ask you about one in particular that you wrote back in 2019, Shut Up About Politics. Why did you write that one?
You know, I've got a lot of friends who I disagree with politically a lot, because I'm in the entertainment industry. I mean, I've got friends that are Bernie Sanders supporters, that are Democrats, whatever. And we're all still able to get together and have a cocktail and laugh and, do fun things together, do events together, whatever. And it looked like that, a lot of our elites out there have put into motion things to break us up, divide us up, and say, well, if you disagree with them, then they're the enemy. They're the enemy if you disagree with them. You cannot associate with these people. You can't be with them and they can't be with you, and we got to bust everybody up. And it's always around this political discourse and discussions. So I was talking to a friend of mine. I said, the best thing would be if we just shut up about politics, sit down and have a drink, hang out for a minute, and remember that we're still friends. We're still Americans. If I saw you broke down on the side of the road with a Bernie Sanders sticker on the back of your car, I would help you with your flat tire and bring some gasoline. You should do the same thing for me if you see a MAGA sticker on the back of my truck. I don't like that MAGA sticker, but somebody needs to help this guy with his flat tire. I said, that's where Americans used to be. That's where we need to get back to that point where we can disagree without hating each other.
Yeah, we're all more alike than we are different. And I think we have forgotten that to a certain degree. I always go with the idea that I'm going to treat everybody with respect and kindness. Quite frankly, yes, I fought with every ounce of my soul, all my blood, sweat, and tears for my father-in-law, but I really don't care ultimately for whom someone voted. If you're a good person and you're respectful and nice to me, then that should be the end of it. We should all just keep that in mind. It's a really good thing to remember as we're going forward in life. I hope more people take a note from that. I want to ask you, John, do you have any shows planned coming up for the summer? I know that things are kind of slowly opening back up, probably more so in the south of the country than elsewhere, but do you have anything coming up we can see?
There's a few. So it's funny that the red states are the ones that are open,
Isn't it?
So there's a few concerts starting to pop back up, and it's funny, all the liberal artists out there who trashed, anybody that voted red, that voted conservative, they're all doing their shows now in the red states because they can't tour in the blue states, So there's a few coming on. 21 is not going to look like 19. 22 may look like 19, depending on what happens and what they do about it.
Not according to Dr. Fauci. We got to wear 500 masks, John, for the next.
Boy, that guy! I tell you what. Recent revelations on Fauci and the Wuhan lab and taxpayer dollars and what they knew and all that stuff. What I've seen recently on the news, if you would have even said anything remotely like that 3 months ago, they would have deplatformed you. But now I saw Sanjay Gupta talking about it. I went, wow, okay. So maybe we're turning a corner where Americans are going, tell us the truth. Tell us the truth about this.
Gosh, that's all we want, isn't it?
That's all we want. Tell us
some common sense and the truth.
That's right. That's all we want. Good, bad, or otherwise. Tell us the truth. I don't think left or right thinks they're being told the truth about everything. And that's what we deserve, and that's what we need to get. So as far as touring, we're playing some shows. I've got all kinds of things going on. I've got music. I've got both of my boys who are 11 and 9, both playing baseball on 2 different teams, and one of them's playing basketball on top of that. So practice ball games. I don't miss baseball games. Matter of fact, I've turned down 2 concerts because they landed on baseball terms. Because, my booking agent, he wasn't real happy about that. He said, you're turning down these 2 shows. I said, yeah, there'll be more shows, but there won't be more baseball games.
Wow. That's amazing. You know what? I wish, John, that more people did exactly that and thought that way. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm crazy with my kids. Like I said, they're really young, but I don't miss anything they do either. And I will rush. I will literally like do anything I have to do to get back home to them as fast as possible. People are like, you're taking a 5:30 a.m. flight. I'm like, yeah, because I want to be there when my kids wake up the next morning. You know, it's so important to me. I love that you do that. Where can people find out if they want to see you this summer? Can they get info?
bigandrich.com. All the dates are right there, and we keep it up to date every single day. And yeah, come out and see a show. If we're coming near you, we'd love to see you guys. It's people look at an act like Big and Rich and they go, well, they haven't been able to tour for, coming up on 18 months. That's unfortunate. You go, yeah, but the people it really hurts is bus drivers, truck drivers, sound guys, band members, catering people, all tour managers, all the people that go in with that industry, those folks have really, really gotten smacked hard. Most of those folks, like the ones I just mentioned, are, they're doing everything from delivering FedEx and UPS to working at Walmart or wherever they're at. They had to all go out and do things that, could get them by. So the fact that shows are coming back online is a good thing.
It's great. Gosh, and what a great way to celebrate as we're headed towards Independence Day. Go out and see a Big and Rich concert. I would love to come, so I'm going to check it out too. I'll let you know. We talked about, obviously, St. Jude and the way you've supported them, but in 2019, you launched your own whiskey, Redneck Riviera whiskey, and your company has donated more than $200,000 to Folds of Honor. If people don't know about Folds of Honor, you should look it up. It's absolutely incredible, providing 115 scholarships to the children and spouses of our fallen and disabled service members. I mean, John, we know how important our military is. We've talked about it very briefly, but why did you decide to launch your own company, the whiskey company, and to give to Folds of Honor?
Well, so I always drank Crown Royal, which is Canadian blended whiskey. And I asked myself one day, is there such a thing as American blended whiskey? So I went looking around. I would ask a liquor store, hey, where's your American blended whiskey? Every time I got the same answer. We don't have anything called that. I said, oh, I'm going to fix this problem.
Oh, no.
So I developed Redneck Riviera American blended whiskey. It's now in 11,000 stores, 48 states. RedneckRiviera.com has a store locator. You just put in your zip code and you'll find a store. But I give my tithe on every one of those bottles, because I own the brand. I don't endorse it. It's mine. It's family business, to Folds of Honor, to put these kids through college who lost a mom or a dad in combat. I think we all, as Americans, make it a habit and a point to say thank you for your service when we see a veteran or an active duty military personnel in a restaurant, airport, wherever we may see them. But to me, what Folds of Honor is doing took it to that next level of doing something that's physically manifesting itself in their lives. And can you think of a stronger way to say thank you for your service than to look after the kids that got left behind when that mom or dad gave that kind of sacrifice? I promise you, if that man or woman could tell you anything before they went on that mission, it would be, hey, look after my family, okay? That's what any of us would ask. Mm-hmm. So Folds of Honor does that. And now, by the end of this year, we're going to be approaching $1 million that we've written.
Oh, that's so great.
Checks to Folds of Honor. So I would encourage people, Memorial Day is coming up soon. Go out, find that store on RedneckRiviera.com, grab a few bottles. We're writing big checks every single year. And my stuff's 100% made in the USA, too. Did you know, Laura, that American glass cost about $1 more per bottle than Chinese glass?
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised.
But that's okay. So I had an accountant tell me, John, you're selling a lot of whiskey. I said, yeah, I know that. He goes, that $1 per bottle, man, that would really impact your bottom line. It would be a lot different bottom line at the end of the year. I said, yeah, you're right. But my patriotism is not for sale. You can't go out there and say, I support American workers. I believe in the right to pursue happiness. I support our military. But in a back room, I'm going to go back here and cut a deal for Chinese glass and not tell anybody. That's called being a hypocrite. We got plenty of hypocrites. We're up to our eyeballs in hypocrites.
We are.
Brand, because I own it and I made that commitment to be 100% made in the USA, that's exactly what you're pulling off the shelf.
That's so great. I love it. That was, something during the campaign. Everything that we sold from the campaign was manufactured here in America. Now you'll read different stories out there because these lunatics on the left that hated my father-in-law and all of us they would get like a fake MAGA hat and they would say, see, it's manufactured in Vietnam or something. I'm like, yeah, because you bought it off the guy right outside the rally, but those aren't the real ones. Right. All of our stuff we had to have made in America. And I remember I really wanted to do this like gold hat, and we searched high and low for an American fabric manufacturer to give us a gold hat. Do you know it doesn't exist? So if anybody is listening to this or watching this and you manufacture gold fabric, please contact us in case we have another campaign. I'm not saying whether or not we will, but we might be interested in purchasing some of that fabric. I think it's fantastic. Now, you mentioned your two boys, 9 and 11. Do they know that dad is a country music star? Do they listen to your music? How are they with things? Because that's a bit of a tricky age you're coming up on there.
You know, they do know it, obviously, because, you know, there's guitars hanging everywhere, and, you know, their friends and their parents, so their friends will comment on things. But listen, in my head, in my mind, and the way I think and go at things, I don't come at things like a guy who sold millions of records and wrote all these big hit songs. That's just not how I think. I still think like the kid who was in the double wide trailer out in Tornado Alley in Amarillo. You know, I mow my own grass. You know, I wash my own truck. You know, we do normal things every single day. Now, when I shift gears and I step on stage with 20,000 people and they see that go on, they go, wow, look at what dad's doing out there. But the second I walk off stage, it's right back to where we were. You know, you got to know how to shift gears. That's the problem a lot of entertainers have. Is that they become a victim of their stage identities. You know, their stage identity, their musical identity is one thing. And then off stage, they feel like they can't reverse out of that and actually go be a normal person because they feel like they always have to be that. And it causes a lot of problems. And I dealt with that early on myself. Like, well, are you a fake when you walk on stage, or are you a fake when you walk off the stage? Well, you're not a fake in either one of them. Those are two different gears. I look at it like a hot rod with first, second, third, fourth gear. You know, we just shift down when we get off stage, and then we by God, punch the gas pedal when we walk out on stage. So they know what I do, but they also know that is not the dominating factor of my life. The dominating factor of my life, number one, is trying to submit to the will of Jesus Christ, number one, to do what it is he wants me to do. And part of that is going out and entertaining and getting messages across to people. But a way bigger job than that's being a good dad and setting an example for kids who are going to grow up in an America that I don't know what it's going to look like. So they need to be able to go, okay, I know what dad said was important, and I saw him live to those standards and to those measures, and that's our blueprint of how to go forward. That's really where my focus lies.
Well, I have a feeling you're doing a great job with your sons, and you have set them up very well for whatever the future of the country looks like. Let's hope it's salvageable. Let's hope it's not too late once this current administration gets out, but there will still be plenty of work to do. So final question I want to ask you, because you are so patriotic and you love this country, what do you believe is the best thing about America, and what do you feel like is maybe the most concerning thing to the future of our country right now?
I think the greatest thing about America is that it was built to be limitless. It was built with foundational things that allowed its citizens to have limitless potential, to exhaust their potential. I think the biggest threat to that is people that want to limit the American people. They want to limit them. It's as simple as that. You know, politicos and talking heads and all these people, they go off on these tangents on all these, you know, various things that splinter off of what I just said. But on a really basic level, Americans are supposed to feel limitless in their potential. And anybody that wants to build a roof over my kid's head and say you can only go to here and then you're going to hit your head on this roof, those are people I'm going to do everything I can to make sure they're not in control. I don't care if they're left and right. Listen, there's a lot of Republicans that I have personally called on the phone that I've raised a lot of money for in the past 10 or 15 years that I said, I'll never raise another nickel for you because you're supposed to say what we would say if we were in the room when it was going down, and you did not do that. And so I'm out. And I'm not going to go out of my way to hurt those people, but I'm not going to help them anymore either, because you have to have real McCoys in this country who understand what the country's DNA is, why it was set up in the first place. It was to give people the chance to go exhaust their potential. So that's where I come from with it. That's what I preach to my kids and anybody that'll listen.
Well, you got a lot of people listening, FYI. I don't know if you know, but I believe you are a great messenger. You are doing God's work every day. You are such a great American. We're so excited to have had you on. John Rich, thank you for coming on The Right View. We hope you'll come back again. Maybe next time I'll have some of your whiskey here. We can do a virtual toast, or maybe next time we'll be in person and we can do it like that.
Hey, always good to talk to you. Tell everybody I said hello.
All right, John Rich, thanks so much for joining us. And to everybody at home, thank you as always. We'll see you next time right here for more of The Right View.